Welcome back to the Practice Squad, episode 7. I'm one of the co-hosts, Jordan LaRoche. To my left here is Henry Stanridge.
What's up?
We have a full house here at the locker room. At the bottom line, as always, we want to thank Wayne Cowley and the great folks here at the bottom line for always taking care of us.
It's bumping tonight.
It's packed here. I mean, for Wednesday night, it's usually pretty dead here, so it's always good to see. As always, next to the Hockey Hall of Fame, just down the road from Union Station, where those damn Leafs play. But week 1, it's come, it's gone. What are your thoughts?
Well, I had this fantasy in my mind of waking up like super early for the game Sunday and being super peaceful, like plopped down on the couch, and I ended up waking up at like 12:57. Then my roommate's like, "We don't want to watch in your basement," so I'm running around with the Xbox, plugging stuff in. So finally got settled down at like 1:03, and. Yeah, I think the Jets had already thrown like an interception, and no, but it was great though. Had the Jets game on, had Red Zone on the other TV, and then I think I got up for like 3 bathroom breaks, and then it was like 11 p.m.
Yeah, it's about the same for me. I was on the couch watching the TV until my girlfriend kicked me off it. It was about 10 minutes before the game started, so I ended up watching on my laptop in my den there, which it's not ideal, but it'll do.
Yeah, well, we're just getting back into game shape.
Exactly. But why don't we get started with this past weekend? What game do you want to start with here?
Okay, well, we talked Bills-Rams already, so we don't need to do that one again. Why don't we start with Redskins-Jags?
Redskins and Jags, yes.
So that was...
you mean the Commanders?
Yeah, the Commanders, my bad, the Washington Commanders. So I was really passionate that the Jags were going to come out as underdogs and beat the Commanders in that 1 p.m. game. That was a game I thought we would learn a lot about both teams from, and the Jags came out and definitely looked more competent than last year. So I don't feel like I was, super wrong, but it was sort of a reminder that, we all make fun of Carson Wentz, but at the end of the day, there's only 20 people on earth who can do the job of quarterback competently, and he is one of them. I think he had 4 touchdowns. Jahan Dotson looked like, he might have been a sneaky good pick in the middle of the first round. Didn't get as much coverage as other receivers picked in the first round, but he looked great.
And for Jahan, a pretty accurate name too, Dotson. But no, I mean, I was impressed by just Washington as a whole. I mean, the defense looked good. And they're able to put up points on offense, and for me, that was probably the biggest thing coming this year. I mean, I bashed Carson Wentz this offseason and last year in Indianapolis. So for him to come up in Washington and put up a pretty good first game, it's really good to see. But on the other side of that, everyone's saying Trevor Lawrence is going to be the guy at Jacksonville. Everyone's saying that this is a big year for him to take a big step up. I don't know if I saw it against the Commanders. I saw him try to fit a lot of tight balls into really narrow windows, which is a young quarterback who doesn't have a ton of arm strength. I didn't love what I saw from him.
Yeah, it did look a little smoother than last year, but I agree. I was honestly expecting like a real coming out party for him.
Me too. And I figure it's a good time to do it against, I don't want to say a weaker defense, but just an overall weaker team. But I'm drawing a blank on the name. Christian Kirk had a good game. Etienne and Robinson, they did split the backfield a little bit.
So Robinson was great.
Yeah.
Etienne, I think, dropped 3 balls or something and had a fumble, which in his first ever game, which basically pulled a James Cook. But yeah, that was a really surprising game, and I'm actually going to talk more about the Jags later because I'm actually going to double down on them against the Colts this week. But Redskins, it looks like, we only really have 5-6 good NFC teams. That 7th playoff spot is going to go to someone who we're not crazy about. And it might be 8-9 wins, honestly. And so the Redskins are going to be in probably not a super strong division, it looks like, especially with the Cowboys losing Dak. And I think, we'll see if they can put together a few more wins.
I like that. I definitely like them as a potential dark horse to make the playoffs. I'll check the odds on that at some point. Mm-hmm. But do you want to move on to...
You pick.
Okay, let's do your team.
Okay.
The Jets versus
the Ravens. This was such a nothing game. It's
I know.
Barely anything to talk about.
There's something I do want to talk about.
Actually, if it's Sauce Gardner, I'm all ears.
It wasn't quite that, but Joe Flacco threw the ball 59 times. Yeah. I think he had 37 completions, 307 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Is Joe Flacco elite?
No, definitely not. But also, he didn't get a lot of help from his O-line that game, which has plagued the Jets for years. You know, Mekhi Becton gets hurt, then Dwayne Brown gets hurt, and all of a sudden we're playing like a third-string right tackle. We're playing a fourth-rounder who they took as a developmental project. He's like too small right now. So he's starting against, you know, the Ravens D-line, which is always good, I feel like. It's been good for like 20 years.
Yeah. But again, I do want to talk a little more about the Ravens here. Lamar only ran the ball 6 times, I think for 17 yards. But I can see this as kind of a ploy that he's set up to, you know, stay healthy this season, make it to the offseason in 100% condition so he can get the big money. And I don't really blame the guy.
So maybe we did a good job, and our defense did play well. They just were on the
100%.
field too much, and eventually you got worn down. But Lamar wasn't taking off a ton, to be honest, and maybe we had a good contain going, but it was a much more traditional quarterbacking style from Lamar.
Yeah, which if you're the Ravens, I'd be a little bit worried about maybe.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. It wasn't the hardest day's work for them, to be honest. So, maybe Lamar didn't want to rush 20 times to get by the Jets, but yeah, worth keeping an eye on.
Yeah, for sure.
And by the way, Sauce Gardner does look amazing. I think he allowed 2 receptions for 19 yards, but broke up a touchdown pass to Andrews in the end zone.
Yeah.
Covered Andrews, Bateman, Duvernay all different times, was effective at it. So shout out to Sauce.
Yeah, but actually, Devin Duvernay as well, a guy kind of came out of nowhere.
He's going on some fantasy teams this week.
I put an offer on him as soon as he got that touchdown.
Yeah.
You want to pick the next one?
Yeah, again, that game was just like probably the most boring game of the weekend, the Jets Ravens.
I'm with you.
Okay, we'll stick with the 1 p.m.s. Let's do Lions Eagles. Okay,
all right.
This is one of those games where I saw it on the schedule like a month ago, and I knew it was going to be exactly how it turned out. I was like, this is going to be like sort of a messy, high-scoring, entertaining football game. And the Lions aren't going to quit at home in week 1, and they're going to make a game out of it, even though the Eagles will look sort of superior to them. And that's exactly what happened. The Lions just kept hanging around. Andre Swift had a sweet game.
Yeah, and I mean, for the Eagles, Jalen Hurts had an incredible game, 18 for 32, 243 yards, and an additional 90 rushing yards. Fantasy owner, so I have to bring that up. And then in the Lions side, DeAndre Swift and Amon-Ra St. Brown, those are 2 guys that we saw through Hard Knocks that we knew were going to have play big-time roles, and it's really cool to see that, you know, we follow these guys a little bit in the preseason, and now we get to see it all come together in week 1. And DeAndre Swift, 140 rushing yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I believe a receiving reception close to 100 yards. Overall, the Lions, I think, are going to surprise some people this year. They have some good pieces. They have some good weapons. And with those 2 guys, they're just going to keep being consistent. If they can be consistent this year, I like the Lions to make a late push.
Yeah, they're going to need their defense to allow less points.
Yeah.
But putting 35 points on that Eagles D is no joke.
No, 100%. And especially when A.J. Brown gets 150 yards and on-time receptions, to be able to keep that game close is definitely big.
Yeah, I like both those teams. I like watching them, basically. They're 2 of my red zone favorites. I'm super pumped for Eagles-Vikings next Monday. That's going to be a great game. 2 teams that are looking like a potential 1 seed, maybe.
Yeah, I think it should be another shootout as well.
Yeah, I guess we'll talk a little bit about that later. Okay, Pats Dolphins. This one also kind of went how everyone predicted it would go.
Not me.
You like the Pats. Oh, right, you bet on the Pats. Okay. Well, for the rest of us who saw the Pats preseason, it kind of felt like they were going to come out and look sloppy unless they were rope-a-doping everyone, which maybe you thought.
Crazier things have happened with Belichick. So.
Yeah. But yeah, Miami just basically controlled the game from the first quarter on, really. I mean, the Patriots had a nice opening drive, and then apart from that, it was just Miami playing great D and Tua doing just enough to get points on the board.
Yeah.
And God, they have so much speed. Jalen Waddle, that touchdown right before the half, where it's like they have 2 guys who can take a slant 70 yards any play, and that's pretty frightening.
Yeah, and it's really going to come down to Tua, and I think he did all right. Like you said, he just did enough to get them the win, which maybe that's all he has to do. Maybe with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, the back feels a little bit of a mess, which we'll talk about in a bit. But No, I think the Dolphins can really do a lot this year, and I didn't really buy into the hype in the offseason, but after seeing week one, I don't think Tua is going to have to be as important as a lot of people think he would have had to be.
Yeah, I think that's what Mike McDaniel was kind of hinting at with some of his weird comments throughout the summer about catchable balls. And it's like, when you're throwing a wide receiver screen, it's good to throw like a catchable ball because they are so elite after the catch on that team.
Yeah, it's all you need. But I did mention the backfield there, and for the Dolphins, it's kind of up in the air. I mean, you have Chase Edmonds, who had 12 attempts for 25 yards, Raheem Mostert, 5 attempts for 16 yards. None of them could really pull away. None of them could really do much. But who do you think is one guy who could probably come out as a starter here? Who do you think maybe takes the number 2 role?
I've always thought Edmonds looked really good on the Cardinals. And I also had a theory that Raheem Mostert was like the best running back of all time because he'd play like 3 weeks for the Niners and put up 200 yards every game, and then he'd get hurt. But that guy just makes it look so easy. So it's 2 guys I'm really fond of. But this is the thing. We know Mostert will break down eventually if he gets the ball too much. So I have to go with Edmonds.
Yeah, I'm with you there. But I like having Mostert as a potential receiving back or just so we can break out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then you want to do the 49ers and the Bears.
Yeah, this is my eliminator game. I'm out of eliminator week 1.
I mean, this game was really messy. A weather game as well.
Yeah, literally messy. Like the field was a mess.
I think at one point we couldn't even see the field through the camera. It was that bad.
Yeah, they're lucky they're Chicago because if they weren't in a major American city, the NFL would be like, you're not owning an NFL team anymore. With the state of that building.
Yeah, and I guess for the 49ers, they could probably use that as a little bit of a scapegoat there.
Well, so Trey Lance obviously doesn't play great, and then people were going, no, in those conditions, I'm surprised Trey did that well. And I was like, okay. I saw him miss so many easy throws.
Yeah, and not even like 10-plus yard throws. These are check downs, and I mean, they're too far ahead, too far behind, and I will give him some of the benefit of the doubt because of just how bad it was in Chicago, but overall, I was not impressed with the 49ers.
No. And the Bears, like Darnell Mooney didn't have a big game at all. I was who are these people catching balls? And that was very surprising to me how that game. I thought the Niners would at least just be able to run the ball. Lance would run it, and they'd win like 35-7.
Yeah, but Justin Fields, I actually kind of surprised me a little bit. I didn't think he was going to do much, but granted, he didn't do much in the end, but he did make a couple plays in that game where you're like, oh my God, like, could he be a potential number 1 quarterback for the Bears?
Mm-hmm. No, he had some huge plays, and he looked pretty composed too.
Yeah.
He had that long touchdown where he just escapes the pocket, finds the guy. Okay, and we got Steelers-Bengals next, which was people are acting like it was a great game. It wasn't, but it was like a tornado. It was like
it's entertaining to watch.
Yeah, it was like destructive, and like I couldn't look away. But I mean, Burrow threw 4 picks, I think, in 3 quarters.
Yep, and a fumble.
In the first, and a fumble. But also threw for like almost 400 yards and looked amazing at the end of the 4th quarter. Just like a all over the place performance.
I think even though the Steelers technically won, neither of these teams really win.
The Steelers win. They got to feel good about that.
Maybe
7-point underdogs.
But Joe Burrow throws 4 interceptions, turns the ball over 5 times, and it's still a 3-point game in overtime.
Yeah,
you have to capitalize on that, and maybe some of that was Mr. Trubisky. He didn't play great, but. I mean, things have gone from bad for worse for the Pittsburgh Steelers as well.
Yeah, T.J. Watt, I mean, he was unbelievable in that game.
Every play was noticeable.
Yeah, he honestly is probably at Donald's level now. Like, it's those two, and then there's a drop-off. But Minkah Fitzpatrick also had, a little Defensive Player of the Year sneak peek going on. He had the incredibly clutch field goal block to save the game on the PAT. I think he had a pick 6 as well early on, and so he looked phenomenal. But losing Watt, that team's screwed.
And it looks like Najee Harris looks like he could be returning next week. but apparently he's dealing with multiple injuries now.
True.
So again, that could be a big loss for them as well. But we were talking about this a little bit on the preseason, but Kenny Pickett, how many more games do you think before he takes a step in?
I think my original guess was week 7, so I would stick with that.
Yeah.
Although, I don't know what happened to Chase Claypool. I was so amped that we had this awesome young Canadian in the league, and he sucks now.
Yeah, no, I don't want to say his best days are behind him, but he just hasn't been consistent. I don't think at any point during his career.
Yeah, well, he's fantastic as a rookie. It looked like he's going to be a number 1 receiver, and he's like one of the lamest players in the league now, honestly. That sounds harsh, but he's not always celebrating. He's not rushing the ball back to the line. I sound like an old stickler, but I don't know. Chase Claypool, really disappointing, and I'm on the market for a new favorite Canadian in the league.
I mean, we could talk about another one in this next game, but the Browns and the Panthers.
Are you talking Chuba?
Chuba, one rush for 8 yards.
Yeah, good. That's great yards per carry ratio.
Yeah, actually. But overall, I think that this game, I don't remember it that well.
Every Barstool Sports fan lost like all their gambling money on this game because everyone was pounding Baker in a pick'em versus old team.
Yeah.
I mean, I also took the Browns or the Panthers on the spread, but and then the game started, and I was like, oh yeah, the Browns are actually a well-ran team that can run the ball and won't ask too much of Brissett. And Baker's like, one drive he looks like a top 5 worst QB in the league, and then the next he'll look good. But there's no consistency drive to drive quarter to quarter with him. He actually played pretty well in the 4th, but he was a dumpster fire in the first half.
Yeah, and I think Vegas kind of tricked everyone, putting Carolina as the favorite just a couple days before the game happened, and you and I both put it there, I think. But a lot of people forget that this Browns team, like you said, is really good. You have a good defense there with Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward.
The best running back duo, hands down.
Probably,
I don't even know what number 2 is.
You have Nick Chubb with 150 yards.
100 too.
Yeah, and 2 touchdowns for Kareem Hunt.
So it's
as well.
Brissett's terrible, but if you can't stop the run, he's gonna look fine. It's gonna be easy for him.
And plus, you just throw to Kareem Hunt all day out of the backfield, and he's gonna get yards. And a lot of people were saying Jacoby Brissett started as tight ends. David Njoku had nothing on
nothing.
Nothing. I don't think he had 1 reception.
I don't think Amari Cooper did anything either.
I think not much. I think he maybe 2 points on fantasy in total. So hopefully the Browns can help me win some fantasy games here. But where do you kind of stand on this game?
So the Panthers, if they were gonna have a surprising year, I think they needed to win that game.
Yeah.
I don't want to cross a team off after week 1, but I actually feel like the Panthers won't be sniffing the playoff race. For them to take people by surprise, they needed to win that game. I feel like it was that important to them. And the Browns, I mean, honestly, we're all rooting against them because of the Deshaun thing.
Yeah.
They have my team this week. They get to 2-0. All of a sudden they just need to stack a couple more wins to be in the hunt by the time Deshaun's back. So, America's going to be rooting for the Jets this week, and we're going to hope to deliver for you.
Do they rush Zach Wilson back in?
So he did throw at practice today, but no, it's Flacco again. I want Stredler, but they're not going to do it. Cowards.
All right, and then we'll do the Saints and the Falcons. This game turned out to be
it was actually a good game.
Yeah, it was. I kind of thought the Saints would, not necessarily run away with it, but not be as close as it was. But Jameis Winston had a good game. Marcus Mariota surprised me for sure. He didn't throw it for any touchdowns, but he had a great rushing game and just looked calm in his first actual start in 2-3 years.
They actually had them, and then Mariota fumbled within the 5-yard line. But yeah, he was totally competent. That's my favorite word to use for quarterbacks because it's so clear to tell one from the other. Oh, somebody's yelling in the bar.
Something going on over there, but
anyway, I see you have Cordarrelle Patterson down your notes, which I was also wanting to bring up because I think he finishes the running back 6 in fantasy last year, or really high, regardless. And still, he went 90th in our draft. He's going 70th to 90th in drafts because everyone's like, it's not that sexy because he's a special teamer turned running back. And then he came out again and he was awesome at running back.
22 carries, 120 yards, and a touchdown. I think that confirms that, well, not necessarily confirms. I think I'd like to see him doing it one more time before I say 100% he's RB1 in this league. But it's a great start. He's just a freak athlete.
You know what I realized too? So the Falcons head coach was the Titans offensive coordinator from like 2018 to like 2020. Yeah. Basically the huge monster Derrick Henry years.
Yeah.
You know who also is really long hair, is really tall for the running back position and really strong? Cordell Patterson. Yeah. So if I had honestly realized that a month ago, I would have picked him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's good. He's just good.
And then a fantasy guy who was really highly touted who did absolutely nothing as well, Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
It kind of like he was in
that's a sexy name. People love Kyle Pitts. People love to project Kyle Pitts to be elite.
He was taken the second round of our league, the second or third round of our league.
Yeah, that's insanity.
And 2 receptions for 19 yards. I was actually playing against him. I still lost, but Kyle Pitts, like just Mariota didn't seem to look his way. He couldn't get open. He was mainly doing a lot of blocking. Which you don't want to see from a first-round tight end.
No, he was completely invisible. I actually didn't even see him make a single play. Nope. He wasn't even getting that many targets either, which is almost more concerning.
He had less than 5, I think.
Yeah, that's crazy. How that you should be designing plays for him, or he should be able to get open. But we should also talk a little bit about the Saints because that was sort of a gutsy win. Look, it was the Falcons, who nobody is projecting to really do anything this year. But still, Michael Thomas,
he's back.
Who, was basically had the Cooper Kupp season before Cooper Kupp. 2 touchdowns everywhere. Jameis looked decent. Kamara did nothing, too, and they still won. And the Saints have a good D. And if Thomas is going to be an elite receiver, they could be a realistic 7 seed as well in the NFC.
Yeah, and you have Jarvis Landry as the second wide receiver there. Christian Olave. That'll be a little battle to see who ends up winning out that wide receiver 2 battle. But for Michael Thomas, made a little bit of a slow start to the game, but second half, he was probably the best player on the field. Those 2 deep catches, the 1 touchdown over his back shoulder, spinning around.
Yeah.
That was a ridiculous catch.
That was awesome.
I've always been the slant boy for Michael Thomas, but no, I'm starting to come around on him. I love the guy who comes off the injury and just balls out.
He's gonna be on the injury report every week this season.
Probably.
He's always got like a bummy hamstring, so he's hard to trust, but he's definitely good at football.
Yeah, no, I like him with Jameis Winston. He may not always be a great deep route runner, but Jameis Winston can just power the ball. He has an arm. It may not be the most accurate thing, but he has the strength to get in those tight windows, and maybe him and Michael Thomas could be a pretty deadly combination this year.
Yeah. All right. So that's the 1 p.m. games.
Yeah.
God, the 425 slate was amazing this week.
It was. I don't have any of the games here.
Okay. Well, I'll talk a little bit about Packers Vikings. Yeah. So this was like the one game this week I actually nailed. I was all over this, that the Vikings were going to win this game. And
I'm Eileen, and I'm a content.
Now, to be fair, Christian Watson dropped in.
Welcome to One Queen, 5 Queer! Here we go, and queer, 2, 1.
Yeah! Rose to Christian Watson anytime soon, because Rodgers just would have.
Yeah.
He would have been absolutely furious at that drop. But
no, and granted, Aaron Rodgers was missing his 2 starting tackles and Curtis Lazar as well, which it's not a great start to a season, but again, I'm taking this with a grain of salt. I refuse to count out a guy like Aaron Rodgers. I think they come back next week. I forgot who they played, but I think he just comes out. We see what he was last year again.
I'm not counting him out either. I'm just saying I think the Vikings are winning that division. And Justin Jefferson's honestly, like, if we're talking the best players in the league, like Donald, T.J. Watt, like, he's there.
He's in the conversation for sure.
He was unguardable, and the Packers have Jair Alexander to cover him, and he just ate him up.
Yeah, I was playing against Jefferson in fantasy this week, I had an 80% win probability before the game started. After the game, it was down to 10%.
Yeah, and honestly, Jefferson took mercy on you because the first half alone, I swear he had 30
he had
points.
25 points in the first half.
Yeah,
It's just ridiculous. But for the Vikings, Kirk Cousins, he balled out. We expected that coming into this season. We knew this new head coach is going to kind of unlock Kirk Cousins a little bit, and 277, 23 for 32. That's a pretty damn good first game, and something I would not have thought Kirk Cousins could have done.
Yeah, just a clean stat line.
And then Dalvin Cook, 90 yards. Madison as well got some touches, but overall, I like what you said there about the Vikings potentially winning this division.
Okay, Giants Titans.
Yeah,
this is a really good game, and somebody's been big on Saquon. This was pretty nice for me.
You were, yeah.
He looked really, really good because the Giants were actually giving him holes to run through.
Yeah.
And then once he gets to the second level, he's as explosive as any running back in the league.
Yeah, it's almost like as soon as he gets past that first level, he takes one step and then he just kicks to another gear.
Yeah.
And he just goes, and that's all he has. It's all he needs. It's just that breakaway speed. Even if it's just one step in a slightly different direction, that receiver is not catching him. With 18 carries, 164 yards, and about 30 receiving yards on top of that. Again, just another guy who's coming off a huge injury that we didn't know how he was going to respond to this, and he just comes out and just lights it up. Again, which is just another really cool thing to see.
Yeah, and it was such a cool come-from-behind win for the Giants, who haven't been over 500 in 5 years. And the locker room videos after were amazing. They say act like you've been there before, but it was hard not to feel good for those guys because Dable's new, the head coach, obviously, but a lot of those guys on that team have been there through some really tough years, including Daniel Jones. Yeah. Saquon's had injury trouble, and they're the other New York team, but I did kind of put a smile on my face to see how happy they were. And also, who cares about the Titans? Honestly, what a lame team. What a lame franchise. The worst one seed ever last year.
Just brutal uniforms.
Yeah.
I've never been to Tennessee. We're from Canada. We barely have any relation. We don't hear about Tennessee much at all.
No, what a lame franchise.
No, but I think it's definitely the feel-good story of the weekend, and I'm happy for the Giants. I hope they do well this year. I don't know if they will, but a win against a Titans team that's been in the playoffs over the last few years. So it's good to see that it's slightly starting to come together for the Giants, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully.
Totally. And Chargers Raiders. So this one didn't really live up to the hype. It was a bit of a slow burn, and Chargers D played really well without J.C. Jackson.
Yeah.
We have Chargers Chiefs Thursday. I don't know if you're aware, but that should be pretty fun. This game, I thought it'd be a little bit more explosive or dynamic or whatever, and it was fine. Chargers just sort of controlled the game.
Yeah, but it doesn't make for an interesting football game.
No.
And we're all kind of expecting to have that Week 18 matchup again that we did last season, but
it wasn't chippy enough. No. I don't know why.
No, you figure divisional rivals. Both teams have a lot to prove this year. You figure they would come out with a little bit of fire, under their ass, but I don't know. It was just a football game.
Yeah, just a football game.
Derek Carr wasn't great, but thank God Devontae Adams managed to keep them in the game, because Carr with 3 interceptions, and the fact that they were able to keep close to that game, it's not all bad for Vegas leaving the Chargers game. So I think the Raiders can bounce back from this, and the Chargers, they're going to have a big test on Thursday.
Yeah, and I think they're going to win. But I should also point out, I don't think Renfro had a catch, which is pretty crazy for a slot dude.
You're right.
No catch. Oh, no, he did. He had 3 catches for 21 yards.
Never mind.
Yeah, look, they have Devontae Adams on the outside and Waller obviously through the middle. But I always thought on, those 3rd and 6s, it was Renfro last year who's coming up with the catches for that team. And 3rd down is really where they struggled in this game. So, I don't know. I think Renfro's really important to how that team likes to move the ball. And I think if they're integrating Devontae Adams and the volume that you anticipate giving to him, it actually could be subtraction by addition. Which might be a hot take. I just think Renfro, what he did last year for them, was ideal for winning football games.
Yeah, and again, just another short white guy to just grind things out in the NFL.
Yeah.
We still have one more 4 o'clock game, right?
Yeah. It is the Chiefs Cardinals. Yeah, so Mahomes now is 46 touchdowns and 3 interceptions in September in his career.
They say it again?
Mahomes in September in his career, 46 touchdowns, 3 picks.
Good Lord.
So he's like the best player of all time in September. And he was feeling it in this one. He was scrambling all over the place, throwing crazy sidearm balls, 5 touchdown passes, shut up the Tyreek stuff. They got a new guy wearing number 10. He looks pretty good anyways.
No, and I picked the Cardinals going into this game just because the odds were good. But I wasn't just so sure about Kansas City and their offense coming into this season. But just overall, they just look good. I mean, Travis Kelce does what he does. Smith-Schuster kind of surprised me, played well. Valdez-Scantling, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. There's a lot of pieces still in that Kansas City locker room that I just went over my head.
Yeah, and we're going to learn a lot about their defense on Thursday.
Yeah.
Because I think Arizona, the vibes are just so bad from this offseason. Like, the Chiefs may have smoked the worst team in the league. I don't know. I think the Cardinals, the Bears won. They were kind of who we were saying before. But I think it could be a tough year for the Cardinals, and they just didn't have a chance from the first snap of this game.
Yeah, and they were missing J.J. Watt, which obviously would have helped a little bit. But for the Cardinals, for a team that started off, I think 5-0, 7-0 last year, I would like to see a little bit more from this game because, like, you're 100% right. They look kind of flat. There were a lot of stories from the team this offseason regarding like Kyler Murray and his kind of dedication to the game. Maybe him questioning Cliff Kingsbury's calls as well. So I don't know. I don't really know where the Cardinals stand right now. I hope they do well because they can be a really exciting team to watch with a really powerful offense, but just a real big letdown this week.
And obviously everyone knows Hopkins is suspended, but they let guys like Christian Kirk and Chase Edmonds leave in free agency. And look, they trade for Hollywood Brown, but do you trust Hollywood Brown as the number 1 receiver? I definitely have no idea what I'm getting from him week to week. And I don't know. It just Ertz did nothing, and they gave him a decent amount of guaranteed money this offseason.
AJ Green 2 receptions. It's not a good overall game.
Yeah. And then Sunday night we had a stinker.
That sucked.
Yeah. Honestly, I was having more fun talking with my female roommate about the divorce rumors than I was actually watching the Bucks game because Brady, there was a lot to read into sort of facial expressions during the national anthem with, apparently Giselle's moved out of the house.
Yeah.
Because the guy's just literally too obsessed with playing football. Like he's like an addict.
Yeah, I think he would let his wife walk, then walk away from football, probably.
It seems to be that's what's happening, but
yeah.
The Cowboys look terrible in this game. CeeDee Lamb, everyone's projecting as a. What's up?
You boys think McCarthy will end the season in Dallas, or do you think he gets fired before that season ends?
Oh, with Cooper Russian now, I don't think McCarthy makes it to December.
Doesn't make it to December?
No.
Yeah.
You think Sean Payton gets that job this year or next year?
Next year.
Yeah,
He'll do TV for the playoffs or something and sign a big deal with the Cowboys.
They'll get some interim in there.
You guys do a great job.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Billy the Greek.
Billy the Greek. Dak had a terrible game, gets hurt. I saw he's out for 6 to 8 weeks. So if you're a Dallas fan, what a nightmare start to the season. As I was saying, CeeDee Lamb did not look like a number 1 receiver.
Zeke didn't look great.
And teams are going to load the box for Zeke and Pollard now with Russian.
Yeah, I think the writing's on the wall for the Dallas Cowboys this season. And probably miss the playoffs.
Bengals are smoking them this weekend. The Bengals are going to come out like ape.
Yeah.
And they're going to smoke the Cowboys.
And
it's going to be super enjoyable because it's the Cowboys. But, yeah, I think the Cowboys are done. I think Mike McCarthy's done, as Billy the Greek just asked.
Yeah, it's going to be probably a really ugly year in Dallas. And I'm excited to watch it all burn down.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And then we got Monday Night Football, which was surprising.
Monday night. Okay, so I actually I hit this bet. I took Seahawks money line because I was thinking it was like plus 270, and I'm like, okay, so we're talking the best home crowd in the league, fired up for not only a week 1 home opener, but Russ coming back to town. I was like, that place is going to be insane. We've seen that place affect football games back when Russ used to play there, and the 49ers would come and they'd smoke teams, and yeah, I mean, the Broncos should have won that game. 2 fumbles on the goal line. That brutal clock management. I was actually yelling from my couch. I was like, what are you doing? You're going to go for 64? You'd admit it.
You bring in Russ for this exact reason, and you kill out the minute for Brandon McManus to attempt a 69-yard field goal.
64, which would have tied the NFL record.
Yeah, you're kind of praying there. That's wishful thinking. Definitely not the right call. But again, for Seattle, they have a lot of weapons there. You still have DK Metcalf. You bring in Noah Fant. You still have Tyler Lockett. Granted, it's Geno Smith back there, but all he needs is some time for those guys to get opened, and they're gonna get open. They're that good.
Yeah, and Geno honestly looked really good. He just was totally within the offense, didn't do anything silly. That's what they needed.
Yep.
And they pulled it out, and I don't think the Seahawks. There are some teams that won, like the Redskins. I'm giving a second chance. Or the Commanders, my goodness.
You've been saying it all episode, man.
I don't think that's going to be the last time, yeah. I don't think the Seahawks are a team that we need to start taking more seriously now.
Maybe.
But what a great win for them. And I'm not a huge Russ guy. I find him super annoying, like most people, I think. And, yeah, I was rooting for the Seahawks. And it was cool for Pete Carroll to get that win.
Yeah, again, just probably the coolest story from the weekend. I mean, I think we all kind of expected Seattle to dominate this game. But for Seattle to just come out and ball out, it's just a cool story and kind of stick it to their old guy.
Yeah. All right, it's my favorite part of the week when we get to look ahead, look at the Sunday games, talk about the spreads, who we like. On Wednesday, it feels like everything's possible, you know? I might pay off my student loans by hitting big this week. Anything's on the table. That's why it's my favorite part. And first game, Thursday, Chargers-Chiefs. Hopefully better than the first Thursday night football game of the year, which was also incredible looking on paper. Bills-Rams. Over-unders 54.5. So obviously a very high-scoring game projected there. 2 of my top 3 favorite QBs to watch in this game.
I'm with you.
And a Chargers team that wants to prove that they're the team that runs the AFC West now.
Yeah, and I think for the Chargers, a huge test. I think when they had the 3 interceptions against the Raiders, and that game stayed close, I think a lot of people started questioning that offense, but I think this is as good of a test as any that they have coming up this week.
I can't believe the spread is 4.5. How is the spread not 3 or 3.5?
It's just begging us to take the Chargers.
Yeah, and I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, obviously.
They know how to lay a trap, man. I'm taking the Chargers plus 4.5. I'm taking them on the money line plus 175.
Yeah.
I'm taking them. I think they have a better roster than the Chiefs. I think they probably beat a really good Raiders team. The Chiefs still got a lot to prove. Obviously, Mahomes is great, but can that defense hold up versus the Chargers? Now, there's going to be no Keenan Allen. That absolutely matters.
But Mike Williams didn't do much in Week 1.
No.
But maybe they just fills up that gap a little bit.
Start Josh Palmer in daily fantasy. I have a feeling he's going to go off. And yeah, I'm taking Chargers plus 4.5.
I'm with you there. That's a no-brainer.
All right, Jets Browns. What a banger of a 1 p.m. game. Jets plus 6.5. Week 2 of Flacco, week 2 of Brissett. The Jets, I don't know if you've been looking at the reports from this week. There's been some really weird quotes going around. Salah talking about we're keeping all the receipts and we're going to shove them down your throat when we start winning some games. The Jets are melting down a little for a team that just lost to the Ravens in week 1.
Yeah.
And it's some weird vibes. With that said, I think you're basically getting the Jets a touchdown at home. I still got to be proved something that Brissett can lead the Browns to consistent wins. So I'm taking the Jets.
Yeah, and again, a Jets defense that, like you said, looked well against Lamar, really kind of bottlenecked him. But I think Brissett's the half the quarterback Lamar Jackson is. So the Jets is plus 6.5. Maybe a bit risky, but I'll take it.
All right, you're riding with it?
I'm of course.
Gangrene. Okay, really, really interesting game here. Dolphins-Ravens.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I was surprised how I felt on looking at that game and looking at the spread because naturally, like I said, I love Ravens versus mediocre teams. They always slap them.
Yeah.
And I was looking at the spread and I was going 3.5. I kind of like the Dolphins. I think it's a field goal game. And I actually think they might win this one. I don't know. Something about that team, and I don't like Tua, but they have so much talent in the other positions.
Yeah. I do like the Ravens defense a little bit more than the Patriots. So I do think it'll be a tougher game overall, but like I said, you just need Tua to be an okay quarterback. So I think this game's a toss-up, but I think I like the room that I have with the Dolphins spread there at plus 3.5.
Wow, we're really agreeing this week.
I know.
Much different than last week.
I don't like this.
Okay, yeah. And Tua, by the way, I think he's 4-0 versus Belichick. So
okay, I don't know. Yeah.
And you know, Belichick's notorious for always getting guys on the first couple matchups, because he's just able to break their brain. Some reason Tua just kills the Pats. Well, his team always wins at least. I don't know if Tua's killing the Pats, but okay. What a tough one this is.
Yeah.
Commanders at Lions. Caught it Commanders that time. Thank goodness.
A brutal spread though.
Brutal spread.
Plus 2.
I mean, it should be a pick 'em. So
yeah.
My natural reaction is just to take the points with Washington, but I kind of think Lions are going to win this game. I'm a total toss-up on this. I will take the Lions though.
All right, I think this one might be the first one we differ. Yeah, but even then, like this game's a toss-up. I think I'm just going to go the other way just because.
It's a stay away. I won't actually be touching this with real money.
No, God,
I just have no idea.
No. But again, the Lions aren't going to go away. But I kind of think that Washington with Ron Rivera there, maybe they had that same fight. And I think with Carson Wentz, the way he played last week, he could light up this Detroit Lions defense again. Yeah,
and I was going to say take the over on this game. I'm looking at 48.5. And the Lions score high-scoring games, but Vegas has accounted for it. Again, just to stay away.
Yeah, 100%. And then the Colts and the Jaguars. The Colts didn't look great week 1. Actually, I don't think we spoke about that game.
Oh yeah, we forgot to speak about Colts Texans.
It wasn't that interesting of a game.
No, it really wasn't. It was such a classic Matt Ryan game. Everyone had the Colts in their eliminator pool, and he comes out and he's throwing picks, and the Texans took advantage and blew the game late on. But of course, the Colts can't actually mount the comeback. It was such a classic Matt Ryan game.
And but this week up against the Jaguars. Again, I don't know how to take it after last week. Losing to the Texans, it's not a good look for the Colts. And with that, you have a -4 spread, and I'm probably looking at the Jaguars taking a +4.
I'm taking the Jags.
You said you were going to double down on them.
Field goal game.
I'm with you there, and maybe Trevor Lawrence looks better, but I think it's going to come down to the running game. It's going to come down to Christian Kirk be able to make room for himself. and it's just improve on what he did in Week 1.
Yeah. So Tom Brady has had a lot of trouble versus the New Orleans Saints. They have kicked the Bucs' butts every time Brady suited up in that matchup. And I think this is the time he finally gets revenge. I know the Saints look good, but the Bucs D has to get some credit for basically shutting out the Cowboys in Dallas. And I think Brady finally gets one over the Saints this time. And you're getting -3 on the spread. I'm taking that. I'm riding with the Bucs, get a field goal, and you're actually getting plus money at -3 as well.
Yeah, I just noticed that.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't have a ton of crazy analytical logic for this one. I just think this is the time Brady finally gets one over the Saints. He's due.
Yeah, and I do like what Jameis Winston did in Week 1, and it is a bit of a revenge game for him as well. So he could just come out and absolutely sling the ball, but I think overall the Buccaneers defense is going to do a better job of just being a little bit tighter, and then I don't think Mike Thomas is going to have enough room, as much room. Neither is Jarvis Landry, Chris Olave. I think Jameis could struggle with against his Buccaneers defense. So I'm going to take the plus 100 at -3 for the Buccaneers. I mean, it's not very often you see plus money on a favorite bet.
If the Saints win this game, are you going to sort of start thinking about them as a division winner in the NFC South?
I think so. I said this, I think it was last week or the week before. I mean, Jameis Winston, he couldn't see for the first few years of his career. He had to get laser eye surgery. And that's obviously going to help. But even when he couldn't see, he had 30 touchdowns, 5,000 throwing yards in a season. He was a good quarterback. So I think maybe it all comes together at the end of a year with Sean Payton in New Orleans. And maybe this is just a coming out party for him.
Yeah. This is a big Week 2 divisional matchup. We're going to learn a lot about the Saints from this one.
Yep, for sure. Absolutely. And then we go to the Panthers and the Giants.
Another stay away. Good luck picking this game. The Giants favored by... When was the last time the Giants were favored by a field goal?
Yeah, I think Baker can come out and do a better job than he did last week, but I don't know. I don't trust the Panthers right now.
I don't trust either of these teams at all. Now, the Giants are sort of the feel-good team. It's going to be very easy to take the -2.5, You field goal, you get it done. I think it's classic Vegas trap, so I'm going to go with the Panthers plus 2.5.
Yeah, and
everyone's off the Baker bus now, and now I'm hopping on.
Yeah, I do like this Panthers defense as well. So I don't think Saquon's going to be rushing for 150 yards again. And I think Daniel Jones could have a bit of a tougher time. So I am going to go with you on that Panthers plus 2.5. Patriots and the Steelers.
Another weird line.
Yeah,
-2 for the Pats.
Again, a weird game as well. I don't think the Steelers can come out and play the way they did last week. It'd be interesting to see if they can. But with T.J. Watt out, with looks like Najee Harris is going to be out. It's going to be a different look for the Steelers.
I just don't think the Patriots should be favored in this game in Pittsburgh. So I'm really surprised that it's -2 for the Pats. I think the Steelers should be favored at home in this game based on what we've seen.
I've already bet on that spread actually. So,
you took Steelers?
Steelers plus 2.
Yeah. I
think they're gonna win.
Why would I lay points for the Patriots from what I saw in Week 1?
Yeah, the offense is abysmal. That's what happens when you have Joe Judge and Matt Patricia running things there. But the Steelers are that team that can just surprise people, and you have a lot of weapons there on offense, even without.
So well coached every year.
Yeah. You can never count them out.
Why doesn't one of these super loaded NFL teams that doesn't have success just offer Tomlin a ridiculous amount of money? Why wouldn't the Dallas Cowboys after this year go, Mike Tomlin, what about $15 million a year? Just completely reset the market for head coaching salaries.
I don't know if he would leave Pittsburgh, man.
Probably wouldn't. He's too good a guy.
I mean, he has so much success there. It just feel weird for him to pack up and leave without being fired.
I don't know, but why wouldn't Jerry Jones say $25 million a year? Just like something absurd.
I still don't think he'd take
it. The guy's amazing.
Oh yeah, but I don't think he ever leaves Pittsburgh. I think he's going to be carried out of Pittsburgh in a coffin before he leaves there.
Falcons Rams. I'm taking the points. 10.5 points.
Yeah.
I don't even know if Matthew Stafford can throw a ball not in pain.
No, I forgot about
no running game.
I forgot about that before Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
I forgot he had that elbow issue, and again against the Bills just didn't look good.
And the Falcons, honestly, they played the Saints really tight. I think we all think the Saints are going to be a half decent team. No way am I laying 10.5 points with the Rams right now. It's McVay. He might bounce back week 2 in a big way and just design such a good game plan. It doesn't matter, and they win 35-14. It's totally possible. I just can't. I can't in good conscience do it.
Yeah, and I think the pretty bad showing that the Rams defense had against the Bills is probably a one-off. So I think it'll be a close game. So I'm riding with you. Falcons plus 10.5.
Again,
I just can't take that with what I saw from the Rams last week.
Exactly, you can't. You're basically just projecting that things will be fine when they really did not look fine.
No, not at all.
Seahawks Niners. This is another very similar line to the last one, right? You have the Niners favored by 10 points at home.
But I think the Seahawks are going to win.
Yeah, I mean it's plus 350. So if you think that, you should sprinkle.
I did.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I'm totally taking 10 points with the Seahawks here. That line will shrink before Sunday.
100%.
So
I mean, get on it now. I mean, this releasing Thursday morning, recording Wednesday night, so things could change before tomorrow. But
that line's gonna end up at 8.
Probably 7.5. I could see, maybe even 6.5, but. No, I do think the Seahawks have a legitimate chance of winning this game. The 49ers did not look impressive against the Bears. And the Seahawks just took out a team that we expected them to just get rolled by. So, granted, it's Geno Smith against a much better D line, but I still think they get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Plus 10 is just criminal.
Plus 10 is criminal. The Seahawks just won on Monday Night Football, and the Niners just lost to the team with the worst roster in the league.
Yeah, this line makes zero sense.
Yeah. Okay, this line is crazy. Am I seeing this? Is mine all weird? I'm seeing Bengals minus 17. Oh,
yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
Okay, but that's at plus 265. I don't know why the app is showing that. The actual line is minus 7.5. Okay, that makes more sense. That explode. Yeah, if you actually go to how it gets plus 100, basically, it's minus 7.5.
Right.
Yeah, like I said, I think the Bengals are gonna smoke the Cowboys. Big bounce back. I think Burrow's got the mentality to take that week 1 in stride, and the Bengals just come out and they just take over Jerry World.
Yeah, and. Yeah, I'm totally with you there. It's just Dallas. We were talking, like we said earlier, the writing's on this wall for the season, and it's just going to be, I think, a full teardown of this roster. So, I think it starts this week. It's just going to keep this big downward trend for the Cowboys.
This time next week, a lot of Dallas local radio hosts having meltdowns and rants because they lost 42-7 at home. I can see it already. So I'm just taking Bengals minus 7.5.
Yeah, at 7.5, I'll take it.
Do you worry that since we're agreeing on everything, it means we're overreacting to week 1 too much, and therefore, because we're both doing that, that's why we're agreeing on things?
100%. I tend to overreact when it comes to sports, but week 1 it certainly shouldn't dictate how we think about it for the rest of the season, because these teams did have one less preseason game. So for some teams, they might have considered it as another preseason game, but there is some merit to it. So I like our choices. I think that we're looking pretty good so far.
I think they're super rational.
Yeah. Except for this one, I'm picking the Texans this week over the Broncos.
You're taking the Texans on the spread or the money line?
The spread.
Okay, so it's -10 for Denver. This one is a stay away from me. I have no idea. My hunch is to go Denver because, yes, they lost a pretty bad game on Monday, but they were able to move the ball. And they'll be at home, and I think there's a chance they can put up a lot of points. And I think the Texans will keep a lot of games close at home. I just don't think they're a tough enough roster to go on the road and sort of be able to keep these games tight. So I'm going to take Denver -10.
I'm not actually taking the Texans there, but no, you're 100% right. The Broncos are going to have an easier time against the Texans than they did against the Seahawks. And that's location that's going back to Seattle in week 1 with everything that's happened to Russ. So you have all those distractions out of the way. You go into week 2. I think for the Broncos, they're considering this as their week 1. And I think they just lie it up against the Texans. I wouldn't even mind taking the -10.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of double-digit spreads this week, and if you want to take some favorites, I think you just tease a bunch of them down to just like the 6.5.
Yeah.
Get to the touchdown. So then, you put. We got one more game coming up with the Packers later, but if you take the Broncos, the Bengals, the Niners, the Rams at like a 3-point mark, and put those all together, you can get into plus money.
Yeah. No. That's some good gambling advice from Hank over there.
Thanks. Okay. Cardinals Raiders. This is one of my games I'm targeting the most this week for gambling, and I'm going to pound the Raiders -5. I think the lines are going to start adjusting to Vegas treating the Cardinals like a really poor team soon. I think this is one of the last weeks to kind of get a semi-reasonable line on them.
Yeah, and for the Cardinals, I just don't know. I mean, this team started out so hot last year. I find it hard to believe that they'll drop to 0-2. But again, the Raiders have a good team, but it's going to come down to how Derek Carr plays. And 3 interceptions in week 1 doesn't strike a ton of confidence in me. But I also know Derek Carr can come out and play some really good football. So I think this is a little more of a toss-up than people are thinking. And I'm probably, if I'm looking at this, I'm probably taking the Cardinals spread here. I don't know who's going to win this game, but I do like the room that I have with the +5.
You like the +5? 5 is such a weird line.
It is, but 2 field goals.
Yeah. I'm taking Vegas -5, and I do feel good about that one, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, Bears Packers.
Sunday night game, Bears
Oh
Packers.
man, what? Come on.
I mean, it's just brutal.
That's a terrible Sunday night game.
Yeah, it is what it is. Packers are probably going to roll through this game.
Yeah, I'm taking Packers -10. I think they're going to stomp them. I think the Bears come back down to earth.
Green Bay at home as well.
Yeah, and Packers are winning this like 38-10 or something.
Yeah, it's not going to be close. So let's go by that one to Monday night.
Nice doubleheader. I mean, I don't like the Titans. I think they're a lame franchise and an embarrassing 1 seed. But Titans-Bills isn't a terrible game.
No.
So, a 10-point spread honestly shocked me, though, because I guess everyone is just so down on the Titans and so high on the Bills.
Yeah.
But that's a really high spread for 2 playoff teams from last year.
I agree with that. So I'm probably hitting the Titans, even though this game could very well be a blowout for the Bills. But like a 30-10 game or something like that. But
I think you have to take the Titans. I think it's too many points.
I think so. And I'm just going to pull this up quickly. Even bring it to 6.5. Oh, wait, that's the wrong side. 6.5 is -180. Yeah.
Tease it down if you want to take the Bills, I guess.
Yeah, but even that, I don't think that's worth it.
Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, the Titans do have a really good head coach, and they came off a really bad loss, sort of a heartbreaker. I think they're going to come out and play really hard. The Bills crowd is going to be ridiculous for that home opener. That city's so in love with this team.
Yeah.
But, I'm going to take the 10 points. But if the Titans get smoked in this, that might be all she wrote for them, honestly.
Maybe because I mean, granted they've been the one seed.
Their
a
division's
few years.
terrible. I can't say that.
Yeah, and like I just don't know if they're really a team that's going to win a Super Bowl. And even though they made the playoffs all these years, I don't think they're a Super Bowl team at all.
The Titans
never have been. I don't think they will be in the near future either.
No. Vikings Eagles, probably the best game of the whole slate, I think. I mean, it's not with Dak out. I mean, Bengals Cowboys could have been fun, but after Chargers Chiefs, this is probably our best game.
Yeah, or maybe even Dolphins Ravens. That could be fun.
Meh. Okay. not a lot of like great passing going to be happening in that game.
No.
Vikings Eagles, two exciting teams, I think. Two teams that could be the team that surges out of nowhere to compete for one seed in the NFC. And I'm going to take the Eagles at home. Again, -2.5 lines always scare me because it seems like they want you to take it. But I am going to take this one.
Yeah, I think I already bet on this game on that 2.5.
For the you went Minnesota.
Sorry, no. I took the money line for the Vikings here. I didn't do this right for this game, but I think it's gonna be a field goal. It's gonna be right down to the wire. It's gonna be last kick wins the game. And I'm probably gonna go with the Eagles here. I like the room, even though I did bet on the Vikings, hedging myself a little bit, but I don't know. I think if the Eagles do win this game, it's going to be a 3-point game. But if the Vikings win, I think it's going to be a 10-point game.
Interesting. Okay. The Eagles have honestly a Super Bowl roster, I think, if Hurts can play at a high enough level, which I don't think he can. But I don't think that necessarily matters in the regular season, and I definitely don't think it matters that much when he's at home in the regular season.
Yeah, I think he comes out, puts up similar to before, and maybe the numbers-wise a little bit lower, but I still think Jalen Hurts is just going to come out and play well. I think he's going to do that many times this year, so I'm excited for the Eagles. But just with Justin Jefferson and how the Vikings looked against the Packers, it's hard to say no to that.
I'm probably playing the under in this one too, under 51 points.
I don't know if I like that, honestly, but granted it is a lot of points, but both offenses looked really good in week one. The Packers have an okay defense, and the Lions is whatever, but neither of these teams, I'm not sold on either of their defenses, so I think they just come out and just light it up.
Well, that would be great if we could have a Monday night shootout.
Yeah.
So, all right, that's all the games.
And with that, we wrap up episode number 7 of the Practice Squad. This will be releasing Thursday morning. I'm going to add this tonight. Henry, are you excited for week 2?
Super excited. The games this week aren't as good as week 1, but sometimes you don't need like an insane buffet to have a great meal, you know?
Yeah, but
just focus on the foods you really like. And I really like the Raiders Cardinals. I really like Chargers Chiefs. I really like Eagles Vikings. So
yeah,
I'm just going to really soak those ones in.
Might not be a red zone week, but as always for Henry, I'm Jordan LaRoche. You can find us at LaRoche Jordan, at Henry.Standage, at the Practice Squad TO on all social media platforms. You can watch us on YouTube, listen to us on Spotify. But as always, we'll see you next week for episode number 8.